Escaping the Chains podcast, brought to you by Delivered Media. If you haven't had the chance yet, please go check us out on YouTube and subscribe, maybe like and leave a comment on one of the videos. Also, we're on Apple Podcasts. If you could go on there and give us a review, preferably 5-star. And the same thing with Spotify. It's Escaping the Chains podcast. So we're so grateful to have you here today. We're going to be talking with our friend Tim. He is a veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And we're just going to dig into some of the challenges he's faced, a little bit of addiction stuff and some dark times. And we hope that it helps. We promise our goal is to be transparent with you and tell real stories and get raw, and then also how people found freedom from these things that they were struggling with. So, Tim Horn, how you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. So we know Tim, we've heard his story a few times. He's a friend, a brother of ours. So I guess let's get started with, why did you get into the military to begin with?
I basically joined the Marine Corps for the challenge. Didn't really care about free school or any of that stuff. I absolutely didn't want nothing to do with school. So I joined for the challenge, the pride of belonging, and just basically pushing myself to see where I fit with the most elite men in the world.
So did you knew when you signed up that the conflicts were going on already or were coming?
No. When I signed up, I signed up in a delayed entry program. I think I signed up in February to go, and my date wasn't going to be until that next year. September 11th happened. I was working in a factory waiting on my date, and then I called my recruiter and said, hey, if I can go sooner, man, send me sooner. And so then by November, I was on a plane going to boot camp.
So you went to boot camp after. So what was boot camp like for you?
I love boot camp. I wish all 4 of my years could have been more of a boot camp experience. You get pushed to the max, you're eating exactly what you need to eat, and you're just literally transforming into what they want you to be. The downfall to that is after boot camp and after your infantry training or your specialty training, you go to the Fleet Marine Corps, and then it's a job.
Yeah. And
you're thinking in your mind, we're doing all these extra things at all times, training every day, and you're not. You literally do a 8 to 5 job. So
how did your family feel about you going into the military, especially that time after September 11th?
So my mom, my dad wasn't really in the picture at this time at all. So my mom talked to the Marine Corps recruiter because they did a hotline thing on me, and I said future plans was to join the Corps. And the recruiter called me. My mom stopped him and said, don't ever call him again. He's my only son. Mm. And so he kind of took me off the radar. And I was 17. When I was 18, I snuck back in there like, hey, it's time to go. And he's like, dude, don't do this to me. And I was like, no choice, man, we're going. And he's like, all right. So I joined the Marine Corps without my mom even really knowing or being on board. She wasn't on board with it.
And I do want to get into the relationship with your dad as we go through this, so we'll try to navigate through that as well.
Sure.
I guess we could go ahead. So you haven't been sent off to Afghanistan yet. What was your relationship like with your father, growing up and at this time?
Just like any boy, they look up to their dad like superhero type stuff. He was teaching me, fishing and, just guy stuff as a little kid. And then he alcohol kind of took over. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To where I kind of had been blaming him for stuff, a lot of stuff. And it's now outside looking in, I take extreme ownership with a lot of that stuff because ultimately he helped me in his wrongdoing for me to be able to see what not to do.
So in his alcohol, so when that started to take over, how did that impact your relationship and the time you spent together?
He was just I called him a bucket of broken promises. He would say, "Hey, I'll take you and your friends boating, wax the truck, and get this boat looking good. I'll take you guys fishing." And his friends would show up, all drinkers. They would disappear on the boat. He would take 2-week, 3-week vacations and just disappear. When me and Mom are over here with a 20 or a 50 on the counter for the 2 or 3 weeks that he's gone, it just slowly started just removing him completely away from the family to where he wasn't even there for like Christmas. He wasn't there for like the important stuff where else would you be?
Yeah.
If you had a family, where else would you be Christmas morning? You know what I mean? But I was going to school telling kids my dad was helping Santa fix the sleigh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was that naive to believe because there's no way he wouldn't not be home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it led to pills, led to, other things, led to a bad divorce, led to ultimately losing everything he's ever worked hard for.
Yeah.
Including his life.
So then how was he as you got older and got into sports and things like that? Was he around? Like, because I know you played football at Mississinawa, and was he around at that time at all? Or
So for me, in that junior high to senior high transition, I was into baggy clothes.
yeah.
I was into stuff like the look was more of a 90s rapper look.
Yeah.
And he was still into the boots, jeans, and just a tight T-shirt, you know what I mean? So he thought he lost me then. And he kind of separated himself at that moment, really not. He would think, I can't believe this is my son.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But with him being around, if he took me hunting and I missed, he would talk about, like, this can't be my son. How's he missing? If he showed me something, and I didn't do it good enough to his standards, he would, like, his patience in teaching was very minimal to where he has this level of experience in these areas, and it's like he has no patience to teach, to show them, to let them fail and just keep learning. He had zero patience there. But the things that he did teach me that I did well at, I beat him at everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of was a pride burner for him. My whole life I was raised to shoot right-handed. And I went off into the Marine Corps and realized I'm not right-handed. I'm left-handed. I start shooting left-handed, I'm hitting the bullseye nonstop. So then I come back from boot camp and say, let's go shoot. And I annihilate him because I don't miss. You know what I mean? It was just a different thing, but it was like just that simple teaching moment that he could have been like, hey, man, I shoot left-handed and I'm right-handed. Why don't we try that? You're my son. You probably will too.
Yeah.
Never even had the patience to do that stuff,
So he didn't have a lot to say when you went into the military. He wasn't around much, or
Well, so my life was football.
yeah.
I did a lot of different sports, and I loved basketball, but I'm just not built for basketball.
Right.
I'm fouling out. I'm rebounding, fouling out, playing defense. I'm not the scorer, right? But when it come to football, that was my love. And dude, I don't think he come to one game. I think my senior night was an awkward situation because my parents were split, and my mom was there with her boyfriend, and then my dad shows up with a girl. First time I've ever seen him at a game, and I think he was there for the wrong motives.
Yeah.
He was more there to try to make my mom feel bad than to watch me do good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I signed the paper and I told him straight up, look, you know, I'm going in the Marine Corps. His only comment was, you know, your uncle went in the military and all he wanted to learn was like how to kill people, how to fight, how to like just be a bad boy, right? Like a tough guy. If you're going to go, I want you to really try to find something that you're going to be able to utilize when you get out if you decide to get out. That's the only comment he had. But I'll tell you this, when I went in, he probably had more Marine Corps stuff than I did. So I know deep down the dude cared and he loved, but he took pride in it, but he was so disconnected from family because of alcohol. It was to the point where if he woke up and didn't drink, he was sick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was on board, took pride in it, but it was very delayed.
Yeah. So real quick, you're doing the boot camp stuff and everything, and you're probably about to get shipped out. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you like believe in God or anything like that at this time, or like what was your faith like?
I did believe in God, but I had zero relationship with Jesus.
Right.
I knew that there was a God. I knew, like, I was so faithful in knowing that there was a God that he's going to have my time, whether I'm in a car wreck at home or if I'm kicking a door in overseas. He's got my time to die, period. And that's just the way I looked at it. I was very, it's God core country. That's the Marine Corps motto.
Yeah.
And there's probably zero God, or very, very limited, 10% God. We have that motto, but we do not live that. We live more like a rock star because we don't know if we're going to come back or not. So we get liberty. We get free time. It's on.
Yeah.
You're going. The only thing they have is barbershops, tattoo shops, strip clubs, pawn shops. That's it.
So now and we'll get back to that because that's obviously changed, but so you are now about to head to Afghanistan. What is that like?
I was pumped. I couldn't wait. So I wasn't even originally tagged to go. I was a radio operator. I was an attachment to the infantry, artillery, or anything they need, a communicator. So being a radio operator, I had I could pick where I want to go. And my my best friend was like, my roommate got tagged to go. And I was like, bro, how'd you get tagged? He's a little senior than me, so they gave him the opportunity. Come to find out they need two. And I'm like, I'm going with him. You know what I mean? We were brothers like me and you were brothers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We went through the same stuff for a season, and we both come out the right end. And it was like, I don't feel right not going with you. I'm going. And I just got the opportunity to go with him.
So then you're there.
Yeah, I'm fired up, man.
So when you're there, what is it like? And you don't have to get into a ton of detail, but so like, you know, a lot of times like things, you don't always come back exactly the way you left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was the experience like being in Afghanistan? And especially at that time, because I feel like people were so, for like the country and everything, everybody was pretty unified, even if they were on different political, believed different politically and stuff. It was a little bit different time for the country than it kind of is now. But, so what was it like to be over there? And you had a lot of support from the people around you, I'm sure. But
yeah, I mean, small town. They're plastering me all over billboards and stuff, which was cool for my family at home to see that they had backing. Mm-hmm. We didn't think or not, we didn't really care. We were just excited to go. The way I believe everyone should have to go through boot camp, and I know that sounds extremely like one-sided. Because I know there's things that you can't do, but or not everyone's built for that, right? But at the same time, to buy in to you get to serve your country. You get to. You know, the Marine Corps will turn you away. You come in saying you got all this stuff, they're like, don't matter. I mean, you know, where other branches might be like, yeah, we'll try to give you this, and this. The Marine Corps don't do that. And every single person, I don't care if you're an admin guy, you're good with a rifle. You're good to where if you have to do some stuff that you're gonna be, you're gonna have the foundation of it, you know. But the part of being able to serve, you get to serve something bigger than you. We don't have that, man. And I think that's what, you know, after 9/11, 9/12, we had that. Mm-hmm. There was American flags everywhere, and it was like, you know, they were giving out free tattoos for anyone that wanted to get an American flag tattoo. Like it was crazy. Yeah. The pride in America on 9/12 was amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a tiny little glimpse. By 9/20, you know, it was gone. But I think that the boot camp thing is just for everyone to know, honor, respect, you know, you are worth something, you know what I mean? And to have something bigger than you, because right now you don't see that.
Yeah. So while you were in Afghanistan, in the conflict, it was a war, right? Mm-hmm. They call it war. So you're in the war in Afghanistan. Were you single at that time?
Yes, I was single. I kind of started talking on, you know, this is before, you know, text messaging, cell phones, and stuff like that. I was kind of emailing a girl, which is now my wife at that time, and she would send me care packages with like Under Armour, which that was kind of coming on pretty strong. Yeah. But the cold weather gear Under Armour was awesome. Yeah. And if you had that, they're like, dude, where are you getting this gear at? And I'm like, dude, it's from my girlfriend, which we wasn't even boyfriend, girlfriend yet, you know.
If she sends you Under Armour to Afghanistan, she's your girlfriend.
In my eyes, right. We were together. In her eyes, she's like, let's wait till you come home. Let's make sure you come home first.
Right. Yeah. So you get out of Afghanistan. What happens with the relationship, and did that change your life? Like the experience in Afghanistan, I know it probably did, but was there any major changes? And then what was next for you? Did you get to come home and see your family after that for a little while, or?
So I'll go back just a minute on Afghanistan, where we were at the embassy that you've seen on the news get taken over by Al-Qaeda and them again. That was a brand new building getting built while I was there. So to see them just walk in that building while we were there watching it get built was a little frustrating, because stuff like that didn't happen when we were there. You know, we mainly did convoys. So you might hear some background shots popping off, but nothing's really, you know, close. You know, your first week there, you're like, oh, gee whiz. No, it's you get to learn the sounds and be like, nah, that ain't close. But we did convoys. So the stuff that really heightened me was big crowds, because we're going through the capital of the country. There's thousands of people walking everywhere, little scooters, mopeds. You know, the women in the blue, you know, we called them the goblet suits, you know, where their face and everything's covered up. You don't know if it's a guy, girl, kid. You have no idea. So it's very hard to try to find good and bad. So we're just going from point A to point B, get stuff, get back. And in them tight areas, for me, driving was a struggle coming home, because we don't stop for nothing. You're not stopping for nothing. If something's in the road, it's no longer in the road because you went over it, right? Mm-hmm. Dead animals on the side of the road were a bad thing. They're probably packed with explosives. And you see this stuff in America, and it's so burned inside of you that for me, coming home was not necessarily blood, gut stuff. There was suicide bombers, right? That you might have been close by when they did it or whatnot, but it wasn't nothing like close quarters combat stuff. It was like traumatic. It was more crowds. Like I get a little anxious in big crowds. Stuff like that was my struggle coming home, and just reliving stuff, having some triggers, like the American Sniper movie, where Chris Kyle is uh, just looking at a TV that's black, and he's there in his house, just looking at the TV with the black, but he's not there, man. He's over there. He's still in the desert. He sees the desert. Like that is probably one of the realest scenes when it comes to that. Like you come home, you're clearly in America, but your mind is still other places, and that's hard when you come home and a school bus drives by. It's just a school bus, and you're getting a migraine headache, and the smell of that diesel puts you right back into a desert mode. And it's like, that took me years to finally figure out what it's a school bus. But the smell of the school bus diesel was very similar to the trucks that were over in Afghanistan. Just the smell would put you there. Then I realized little triggers could be everywhere. It could be a smell, it could be something you see, it could be a noise, and you might not be in America no more in your mind. Yeah, that was the hard part about the transition of coming back home to America. We couldn't wait to come home. We were super pumped, but we didn't realize we're not the same. You know what I mean? We're not the same people. We're on our senses are heightened to the max, and they stay there. We live there. When you come home, that's not the case. You got to decompress. You have to let loose of some of this stuff. And I don't know where we're going next, but like when you get to the VA to do your final thing, they treat symptoms. So they're over medicating you. If you're honest with what you're dealing with, they're giving you so much stuff to where at that time they were medicating you for days, and you don't care about the crowds, but you don't even know where you're at. You don't even care about none. You're a zombie walking through this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get back to that because we definitely want to touch on that. Decompressing. I mean, if that's what you even want to call it, I feel like it's a lot more intense than that. So when you're back this time, you have the girlfriend.
Yep.
Is she officially your girlfriend yet? Once you make it back from Afghanistan?
Yeah. Once I come home from Afghanistan, we turn in our gear and our weapons. You do like a 1-day paper of, did you see anything that gives you nightmares or anything, like a post-deployment form? Mm-hmm. And you're like, nope. Because if you answer yes to this stuff, you're not going home with your family because they want to dive deeper into, okay, let's figure this out. Yeah. No, best thing for me to do is be with my family.
Yeah.
So many people was lying like crazy on that sheet just to get home.
Yeah.
But we are boyfriend, girlfriend at that time. And I honestly have about a year left in my first enlistment, and I'll be getting out.
And are you planning on being done after that year?
Honestly, I planned on staying in, man, and being a drill instructor. My girlfriend, now wife, coming into the picture, it really stirred things up. The divorce rate in the drill field is 90-something%. She's going to be in California by herself, no family, no nothing. Like, you're removing her from everything she knows and putting her in an environment where you're never there. 3 months at a time, you're not home. So I was putting in for drill field stuff. And to re-enlist, they call it a boat space. I had that opportunity, and I was somewhat right there. All I had to do was sign a paper, and I'm like getting what I want. It's the only thing I didn't do. My first 4 years was 13, 14 different countries and traveling. I was the best PFT. The physical fitness score was maxed out. My rifle score was a high expert. You know, my swim qual was almost the best of the best. And it's like the challenge of me joining, like the only thing left was to be a drill instructor. And I was really processing, like I wasn't enticing enough. Like my wife was way more enticing.
Right.
To fulfilling a challenge, because honestly, I think I had some father wounds that pushed me to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To
Make you feel like you needed to accomplish so much because he was always kind of critical anyway.
for sure.
So like you're compensating so in everything you do to get like their attention or their approval, which you never actually most times
No.
don't. Okay, so you've got a year left. You're not going to do. You're probably going to be done. Everything's going good with the girlfriend. What happens next? Because I know, like, since I know this story, I know we kind of transition into it. Doesn't kind of you're going to get your year done.
Okay.
You're going to get out of the military, right? You're going to figure out whatever back home. But what happens?
You start the VA process, and at that time, the VA wasn't prepared for the invisible wounds that these dudes were going to bring home when they should have been aware of it with, the Vietnam guys, and they called it shell shock, or they would call it something. No, it was just post-traumatic stress. And I think that it took a while to realize that's what it was. I didn't even know what that word was until going in. But me and the girlfriend get dead serious. We're engaged. That year I had off. I was at a beach, and she would fly and come see me all the time. We'd stay in these little cabins on the beach, kind of like if you're working on the beach, it's to really let you decompress. Mm-hmm. Like everyone that was working on the beach just got back from a year overseas. So it was really kind of a chill environment, to try to smooth the transition over. But when I get out, I had 1 year talking to my career planner. I gave up my drill instructor. I didn't sign the paper. I ended up getting out, and my question was, how long can I be out and come back in and keep my rank, and in case the civilian world don't work? And he said, you got 1 year. After that year, if you try to come back, you're going to start losing rank. So you're going to start over. So I got out, went to the jail. Guy brought me onto the jail. Otis Archie, the sheriff, was like, you're way too qualified to be here. Because I was in security forces and some things he was into, honestly. I knew some of the people that he was getting pictures with on the wall. You know what I mean? He had the ambassador of Afghanistan, a picture with him. I said, that's the ambassador. I was there, and he's like, I wanted to go to the road. I think that would be extremely dangerous to go from one extreme to the next. So they didn't have a position, thank God. And then they put me in the jail. And I said, I really don't care. I just need to feed my family. Me and my wife get married, and we buy a house, and I don't even have a job. So I really didn't care. But in that time of trying to transition back to civilian world it got me into a dark thing, man. I had dealt with a lot of back pain, knee pain. I was getting headaches, still get some headaches. And they were just giving me Vicodin and Vicodin and Vicodin and Vicodin. And it was like, You can take 6 to 8 of these. And I believed everything. I was taking them. I'd keep a handful in my back pocket, and never did I feel like I needed it. But if I felt pain, I knew I had it in my back pocket. It was like a security thing. And it was my deepest, probably the darkest moment of that was completely over-medicated, not thinking clearly, not processing like you would normally process. Never really thought addiction with it, right? But like I was definitely scratching the surface of being completely hooked on these things. And they were free, auto shipped to my house. You know what I mean? The VA is totally different now. They're way more in control of the substances now. So thank God for that. But at that time, they auto shipped you stuff. They auto shipped you stuff on a regular basis. I was signing for packages every couple days. And the psychological medicine was experimental stuff, like it's not been passed for nothing. And yeah, man, it was like a concoction of that and not sleeping. So then at night, to sleep, I was just drinking. I would go get like a bottle of liquor, just to like a little pint, and I would just drink it. And then it would shut everything off because I'm still getting these triggers of bus diesel smell. And I'm still dealing with situations that like I'm back and forth in a desert and at home. And it was rough, man. It was rough on my wife because we were on cloud 9 because we knew that we were going to be together forever. But she didn't know what she was getting into. But she's a beautiful woman, my wife. But there was something on the inside of her that I seen through her eyes that was angelic. Like, she pushed in the right spots to make you feel like I can be better there. I can be better there. So she never was like a dictator. She was never like the nagging type. She was always the loving little push. And I seen that inside of her kind of getting diminished. And I'm over here just trying to figure life out, man. My life is out of control. So long story short in that struggle was I get better. I go to counseling for a year, and I talked to a lady at the VA, and she really broke it down for me on understanding what I'm fighting. And then I'm out for 1 year. I'm going into my second year of being out. I leave the jail. The post office calls me, so now all my military time counts. I go to the post office and work, I think 6 months to 8 months, and I'm starting to be like, okay, we're doing good. And then I get a manila envelope in the mail to Sergeant Horn. And I've been out for almost 2 years, and you got to go back to Iraq, bro. It's a involuntarily recall, so no getting out of it. You got to go. Now
There's no getting out of that.
No. Now I'm married, and I see in the news that they're going to do a troop surge, and I know it's going to be the Marines. Deep down, I knew I was there. I knew I was tagged. I knew it. And I looked my wife in the eye. I said, we've been together very little, but I'm the only Horn left. You know what I mean? So, like, we got to have a baby. And I know that's a lot, but we got to have a kid. And we no preventative stuff. We're going to have a kid. She gets pregnant pretty quick. Come to find out it's a girl. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't die. I cannot die. But I had dreams in the past of dying in combat, right? So when I didn't, it was like, okay, God, you got something else for me, right? And then I get recalled. That comes right back in my mind. Oh, dude, no, you're going to die for your country. And I'm like, oh, shoot, now I got stuff I got to be able to live for. The first enlistment, I'm single. Who cares? I'm reckless. Let's go. But my second one, no, it's totally different outlook now. And I'm still in this moment, I'm still not a walker with Jesus. I believe in what they would call a higher power. I believe in God and that He's got my time no matter what. And that's a dangerous place to be because you think you're a believer and you're clearly not if you read your Bible.
So basically, like, you went through all of this stuff and the therapy and all of this stuff to get, back to as normal, I guess, as a civilian life as you can. And then you get this envelope like, hey, bro, you're going back. So I can only imagine, and I think I've heard stories of like the impact that this had because you're not only your mom, but your wife's family is a very close and supportive
For sure.
family, which is, is probably a little different than, as far as like a big family, like what you were raised in. So what was the process like for them? Like, you're getting sent back out, you can't get out of it no matter, like, there's nothing you can do to get out of it.
They were supportive. My mom went from telling the recruiter, "Don't ever come over here again," to getting a Marine Corps tattoo. Straight up.
She has a Marine Corps tattoo?
She's not a player. The whole, like, it's similar to Christianity, really, bro. When the guy takes a stand and he lives for something, the family falls in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I recalled, I kind of missed the Marine Corps. I missed it. I thought, man, this is going to be all. I'm going to make this a positive thing. After I had my moments of locking myself in a room and dealing with my emotions.
Did you have to transition mentally? Like, when you got that envelope, you talked to the family.
It was like a switch.
You had to kind of lock yourself up for a minute and transition back because you can't take this mentality.
No.
This, family man and all that stuff. You probably can't take that with you.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
There's people out there that are married that are freaking warriors. They're awesome. And you have to shut it off. You can't, unless you're buying into whatever mission you're doing, all in, you can't have your family in the back thought. You got to shut it off and trust the process. At this time, I'm involved in church. Still not really walking with Jesus, but I'm involved in a church. My wife's family goes to a church. We're going to church on Sundays. So I'm seeing this thing get close. I see God pulling me closer and closer to Him in this process. So, like, just the words, the way they talk, I killed that guy. You know what I mean? In the Marine Corps, hey, go clean your room. Don't work. Go clean your room. That works. You know what I mean? And I literally had to flip a switch and almost rewrite everything that I just let go of.
That's wild.
It's going to get interesting now.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm at the point now where I show up to Iraq and which my daughter's already born. I'm with her the first couple months of her life. And then mama's good, baby's good. Now I'm out.
And this was if I'm not mistaken, because it's not that there was any like good or bad times, but there was times where like it was amped up, like the action seemed to be like, in both places, Afghanistan, it was just like, it just felt like
Mm-hmm.
there were moments and bursts over a year, 6 months, where it would just get like it from here
Mm-hmm.
watching. It was like it was just complete, chaos and battle, and then it felt, it would, like I said, it was never really like calm.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's other times it would just seem like not as much going on. So when you landed back in Iraq, was it pretty chaotic? I mean, they had just called you back out, so
For troops, for numbers, for more numbers.
yeah,
To be honest with you, in my deployment to Afghanistan, I was in Afghanistan, and a buddy that I was in school with in the Marine Corps, Lance Thompson, was in Iraq. He got killed in Iraq when I was in Afghanistan. Then I'm in Iraq now, and Afghanistan's popping off, and I lose a guy that I was in Afghanistan with. I got out, my unit went back, and then I get recalled to Iraq. They go over there. He went home on leave, like I went home and met my wife. Got married. I think she was pregnant. Went back to Afghanistan and got killed.
Mm.
So it was like chaos was in the other country at the times I was in the other country. If I'm in Iraq, Afghanistan was more of you're going to the gym twice a day and just waiting on sirens to pop off and it's on. To Iraq, I went to Iraq and I'm thinking troop surge, people are dying. I'm a combat replacement, right? So either dude got hurt and sent home or something, right? I get there and I run into a guy. I've been traveling for 36 hours, no sleep. I won't get into the details on that. We get there and this dude says, Sergeant Horn? And I was in communications class with this guy. I was like, man, that's so awesome, man. I'm so glad that I know someone. Because in that time I missed the Marine Corps and went back, I was a little excited. None of my guys were there. None of them. They're either out or got shipped to the West Coast or back overseas. And I was like, man, I realized like I don't miss the Marine Corps, man. I miss the dudes. And there's so many of us and they were all gone. So when I get to Iraq, I'm thinking, I can't be a guy. Like it was a struggle for me to be the guy because you have to be 100% selfless in a team. You have to be selfless so much that the team is first over yourself. If you're not all in, you won't make it because you're going to have that mixture.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have the mixture in the mission. So that was a struggle to be all in, and I get there, and I'm an older guy now, a little bit more higher ranking, and I get there, and I'm in a communication platoon, which I've never been a part of. It's a regimental combat team. What we do is we're all attachments. So I got a group of radio operators who are young and fired up and want to go on these missions. So I'm like, bro, this is amazing. Like I'm not that guy no more. I don't have to be the guy that's got to do all the missions because I volunteered for everything my first go around. Second go around, I got different, I got more important things in my life that take precedence over a team mentality. And it was amazing. I went outside the wire like less than 5 times. Outside the wire is outside the safe zone like 5 times. All my guys were just begging for these missions. So it was like the easiest, best case scenario for me as far as where I'm at in life now. It's so easy. I'm playing football. I'm playing in football tournaments in Iraq against recon. And we're playing like legit, like a flag tackle football tournament because it was so kind of slow-mo. like if we're all here, we get to do this tournament. And it was just, it was best case scenario, man. So everything I was worried about on trying to be that guy again, like trying to rewind and bring back alive the thing I just killed.
Yeah.
I didn't need to.
So on the other hand, your family back here was probably stressed, right? Like they were going through it. So you got, Brandy, your wife, your mom, Brandy's family. So they were going through it because I think I've heard stories about like the prayer and all of those things, because it's tough. So, like my brother was in Afghanistan twice, and you're back here hearing this news, and and so my mom would have the tracker and everything, which it was just like too much for me. But it was just like you'd hear the news and then say, somebody from Kokomo, was in an explosion, and it's just like you literally, you're never completely at peace. You know what I mean? Like when you wake up, one of your first thoughts is like, I wonder what they're going, if they're okay with like what they're going through. Because there's so much more to it than just that. There was, like with him, he would, as much as you're hiking and all this stuff, like your body is literally, you're freezing and then it's overheating. Your feet just, that alone, like that you could tell by the things that people were requesting, how bad it must have been just to be walking around over there. And even if you never saw any action, it had to be tough because of like what people were asking you to ship over, like when you get with the legions and stuff. It totally like brought everything into perspective. Like for me, it's like, man, like
they want wet wipes.
They want wet wipes and like foot powders and hemorrhoid creams and things like that. Like, so yeah, like, and it was tough, knowing he was over there. And then I think he got stop lost. So he had on his second round in Afghanistan, he had to stay longer. And it's like, you got to be freaking kidding. Like from this standpoint, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? Like how long does he have to like be over there before he can get the freak out? So they were going through all of that. Let's move forward. You made it back from Iraq, obviously, and everything's going well. So, and you're starting your family. So what's going on with your father at this point now?
Yeah. So hold that thought.
Okay.
When I went to when I got home from Afghanistan, my other good buddy Brad King was going on one last convoy to show the new guys that were taking over, to show them like the routes and stuff or whatnot, just showing them the ropes. They hit an IED and he died. So literally, as I'm waiting to go back, we're standing on Main Street for parade for his body to come home. In a small town, you see it. It's like America. Like people was buying in again. And I was like, where did this happen? And then I'm realizing I'm going to the same place he went. There was another boy named David Kirkpatrick that died over there. And I'm in the same spots that these dudes are dropping in war, in situations where he didn't have to go on that next convoy. He volunteered to do it. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be flying out in 5 days. So that's all fresh back at home. This is real, guys. People in Indiana are getting killed left and right over there. Our reserves were they were losing more than they were helping by numbers. You know what I mean? But I will say this. Your mom watched the ticker. She paid attention to the news. I told my mom, you don't watch the news because I don't believe it at all. When we were in Iraq, towards the end coming home, it was like such a big deal because they were voting to try to get like a president type thing like America. And it was the quietest I've ever been. It was so quiet. But on news at home, it showed old explosions and stuff saying, oh, yeah, all these voting polls are blowing up and stuff. And it was like, Mom, shut it off. It's not true. I'm at these polls. There's nothing going on. You know what I mean? So let's get back to your question. The transition. I'm home now. I'm home, and it's been not quite a year.
Back from Iraq.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm back home. It's not been quite a year because I'm just home in time for my daughter's first birthday. And at this time, my wife has had to be mom and dad. She's the one that's had to run the house, right? So when I come home, I mean, we're good. I mean, we're good as far as husband and wife, but my house was out of order. It was out of order. I had nowhere to fit. Dad didn't fit in nowhere. And that's a dangerous place for a woman to have to be the man and the wife, like that for mom and the dad, right? So I come home and the struggles we had were me drinking to go to sleep, me dealing with all that stuff as alive and burning in my mind again. But I have a different outlook. Like I do believe in God a little differently. I wasn't quite at Bethel yet. Mm-hmm. And we started that journey around the exact same time.
Yeah.
We were both chasing the exact same thing, but we're fighting two different wars.
Right.
And that was the biggest struggle, man. And at that time, I'm really like, God, I love my family so much. That I have this life insurance stuff. I have this stuff, and I'm like, take me. Just because if they have the resources, they're doing good without me. You know? And I wasn't suicidal, but it's like the addiction thing. I'm scratching the surface on this thing. I wasn't premeditating what I would do or anything, but I was like, God, just take me. Take me now. Like, I feel like I've been used and abused. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. Don't really fit in. And now we're bumping heads. She has her own order. And I'm kind of like the outcast. And in this season of processing, life is getting rough. And you're thinking, man, it should be better if I wasn't here. Is when I got a phone call saying that your dad is dead. And my first thought was, who did he kill? Did he kill anybody in drinking and driving? Like, I'm thinking, what happened? Something traumatic had to happen because he was healthy.
Yeah.
And then I'm told that he shot himself, like in the chest with a 12 gauge deer slug. And dude, it was like God opened my eyes in that exact moment on your thinking is off. Your family needs you so bad. You need to be in the head. You know what I mean? You need to be in your proper alignment because your family's had to survive for a year. Does not mean that they can operate there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that in that journey, when my dad killed himself, I mean, it was like a light switch. I, them thoughts were gone. You know what I mean? It don't matter. Hunker down. Let's go to war. You know what I mean? Because my mom kept saying, this dude's been to 2 different combat zones and he's survived. And then he's coming home and he's going to die from all this medicine. He's going to die from being hooked on all these, because there was some stuff I was taking that you can't miss a dose, but they wouldn't refill it unless you went in there. And I work the same hours you work, guys. I can't get there. I need a refill if you're not going to refill it. So I went 2 weeks kind of cold turkey, like an addict. You know, I'm shivering. I'm sick. And when I got past that 2 weeks, I went to the VA and said, I'm done with every pill there is. I will be the guy to look up natural stuff before I start taking all these pills again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So shortly after that, man, I was still drinking myself to sleep, though. Me and you crossed paths. Mm-hmm. And we're both completely broken. So we both run into a group of guys that are what we're looking for into what is a real man, because clearly neither one of us know.
Right.
We don't know how to be what we're called to be.
And don't you, I think, like, the funny thing, and I'm not trying to compare the things, but, like, military, even the streets to an extent, like, some of those things, like, you find these brotherhoods, which are so, like, important. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot of times, like, you see people, like, trying to figure out God and Jesus, and if they don't find that, which us, we as believers, especially more seasoned ones, we've got to start creating that space, because that's really, you're looking for that. Like, I don't necessarily know sometimes what's even bothering me. But when I get around my group of guys, we kind of, and me and you have been through, we've had to, when I was, trying to get custody of my daughters, like, there's so many battles where it's just like, I just need people to be around. Yeah. And I think if you're listening and you're a church or, a recovery group, anything like that, the most important thing you can do is just create the space. I think sometimes we overthink it, but if you want to do a Bible study at your house, do a Bible study at your house. And because we don't have similar backgrounds in the sense that I think we do have some similarities, but I've never been to a war zone. You know what I mean? I just got high all the time since I was 15 years old, But there's such a, iron sharpens iron. There's so many things that are so important, especially, like, I can only speak from a man's perspective, but having, like, finding brothers, and it only takes one or two. And we found that. He was talking about Bethel, that's our church, Bethel Worship Center, and Todd, and so I can't list everybody that's been so amazing with that.
For sure.
So, but in that, you start to work out your walk with Christ too. So when you found that out about your dad, that has to be a touch of a process, because a piece of you was wanting his approval and wanting his attention, and to know that was kind of, it was just done. You know what I mean? It wasn't done as far as you and maybe some of the spiritual stuff and forgiveness, but what was that process like for you internally? And is that one of those moments where it did really take God to kind of, like, reveal and help you work through that? Because it was probably...
Yeah, I think God definitely showed me things in that. And to be honest, he showed me that my dad didn't do nothing wrong, that alcohol kind of took him over. Like if he was in his right mind, he was everything I needed. Just being around, like dads don't need the pressure of being Superman. They just need to be there. even if they miss it, even if they're short or something, they can't do what they need to do at that time. If they're there, they're still winning. But for my dad, God showed me that I learned more on what to do the right thing by watching his consequences.
Yeah.
I learned what not to do. And it wasn't like if he went left and I went right, I got to see the fruit of going right. You know what I mean? This is 90% of our issues are our issues, our decisions, our bad choices. I think people give Satan too much credit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our personal choices on how we determine how to handle things, we create the mess that we're in. We do.
Yeah.
So when you learn, like, the military was very good at the extreme ownership type thing. Like, oh, my bad. Even if you're like, dude, I clearly rethought this 50 times, and I don't think I could have did anything different, to be better. But you always, if something failed on the communication side, it was on me.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be my fault, but it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
So, the extreme ownership side come through, and I think God was showing me, basically, he let me see some of the consequences of my dad's bad choices or decisions.
Yeah.
Because I never thought he didn't love me. I just never understood why he wouldn't want to be around his family. Like, for me, having kids made it even worse. I even started looking at him worse.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I can't imagine not being here. I'm in all pink at a cheerleading conference. I have zero knowledge of cheerleading, but I'm there.
With your pom-poms.
Screaming for my daughter, right? Like,
yeah.
But then, running into you guys, running into Todd, running into the process of all of it, I get more good out of, I don't remember a lot of the negative of my dad, but everything he told me I couldn't do, John, I did it. I don't need to get into what he said I couldn't do, but everything he said I couldn't do, I did it. And it was almost to the point where I need someone to tell me I can't do something. Just to give me, because I was so rewired my thinking of, say I can't, say I won't do it.
Yeah.
And it was perverted, right? It was not like a healthy thing by any means. But if you challenge me in a way of, I bet you can't do this, like, I had to process that very cautiously, because I will exert everything I got to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. But everything he said I couldn't do, I did. But with the kids, being more judgmental of him by having kids was rough on me. And God took all that away, man. Like, I just remember everything good that we did. I asked family questions to people I don't get to see often, and they get to talk about it. He's at the bar every night, but he's in a Marine Corps shirt that says Sergeant Horn on the back, or he's in a unit shirt that you really shouldn't be wearing. But he's a dad. He's just a proud dad.
Yeah.
He was wearing Miss Cinewall football shirts, but he never seen me play but one game. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do believe he loved me to the best of his ability. He loved me to the point of all he knew.
Yeah.
But then when you trace it back to generational, and you see generational things, everything that's been lined up to destroy your bloodline, you start looking at grandpa. You start looking at great-grandpa. You'll start seeing the same things set them up. They all was drinking. They were all with multiple women. They were all, chasing money. And then you're like, oh, I'm drinking just like they were. And I'm dogging them. Like, God just brought me back, man. He just lifted me up to see from a higher level to say, your dad did the best he could, because that's all he knew. from his dad. And then his dad, that's all he knew from his dad. And then I was like, I'm just soaking in, like, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure my kids don't feel the way we feel.
Yeah. It stops here.
It stops here, bro.
No matter like what battles I have to fight too.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, that's a very, very, I mean, it's a whole another podcast, but the generational curses stuff. So showing grace to an extent, some people are just bad people, you know what I mean? But to say that this is where it stops with me, which means whatever I've got to do, like whatever I have to do, it stops here.
Yep.
Because I think the sad thing about that is so many times, like we carry this stuff through life, not knowing how some people felt about us because they did not know how to communicate it. You know what I mean? So you're finding out that he's wearing, Marine shirts to the bar, but he's probably never told you, hey, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? It was his way of like showing.
Yep.
And I think that like one of the saddest things in this life is like we're not guaranteed time. And not everybody gets that, beside the deathbed or, moment of, clearing the air, telling somebody how they really feel. And I think that's one of the funny things with me is like I try my hardest to tell people how I feel right in this moment. And even if I'm mad at you, that you start to see how petty some of that stuff is. Like if me and you have a problem, okay, you know what I mean? Like if you make me mad or I make you mad, but like how small that stuff is if you look at a person and be like, okay, now if I was in front of their casket tomorrow, you know what I mean? Would I be carrying these feelings today? So we got a couple more minutes. So, basically with the alcohol and stuff like that, you kind of went to a different church, got around some different people.
Yeah.
And how did that get cleared up? Because you don't drink anymore.
Clearly. So. Yeah. I just been to in my opinion, a great church that's got a bunch of men who are the ones up front worshiping, are the ones doing what most men don't do. Most churches, mamas are up there jumping, but we have real men in our church, and I needed to see a real man walk this thing out. Like I needed to see that it wasn't a front. It wasn't a fake. It wasn't a fraud. Got to go on a couple vacations with Todd and his family. I owe Todd a lot, man. He's been there for a lot of my development as you.
Yeah.
Me and you can talk to each other, but we need that guy that can, advance us.
Yeah.
Me and you will motivate each other. But Todd's the one that's been just the one, and it's not like I selected him or it's not like we did like hey, man. It's just been I've been around him. I've been around his family on vacations. I see how he is in moments where you could be frustrated. I see him in the frustrated moments and how he handles it. I see him in different states. Still praying for people who come up to you and ask a question about something. Like I see that the Christianity in him is not an on or off switch. It's not a Sunday thing. It is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when I seen that, it's just a motivator to me. But my hat's off to Pastor Gary because that's who we are.
Yeah.
We're the pastor. We get to see Todd and Nathan by Pastor Gary's decision and choices. Get to see the fruit of these two, who I admire, and get to see their kids, bruh, motivating. That's us, man. We will get to see that one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's based off of his decision to say it stops with me. And it's just a motivating piece for me. The only difference is I've gotten really close to Todd, and our wives are good friends, and I just get access to him in a personal level and see that the lines don't move.
Yeah.
And it's something that if you can do it, I can do it.
Just got to show me how.
Show me the standard.
Give me the blueprint.
Show me the standard.
Well, I think that's, I mean, when the Bible talks about like seeking wise counsel and stuff like that, we kind of live in a time where sometimes people are like, oh, you got people telling you what to do? No, I mean, I have the freedom to decide to do whatever I want.
I can flush my life down the toilet.
Well,
if I want.
and I do sometimes. However, like the importance of having people saying, hey, I've kind of seen this play out before.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go well for you. And then me making the decision, I mean, I've done both. I've listened, I've not listened. But the importance of that and walking out life with people, you know what I'm saying? And having the grace of like, they've seen me fail at about every level I could fail. You know what I mean? And you see, sometimes you see them fail, and having that grace, like, okay, we're family. My personal family, we have a lot of grace for each other. We may fight. We may disagree on stuff, but we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the lost arts of like community is like, I don't have to, you don't have to be perfect to speak into my life. And I don't have to be perfect to be discipled. As a matter of fact, I shouldn't be.
Right.
I shouldn't be perfect to be discipled. I should be humbled. So what we're going to do is I have some resources that I'm going to share for military families and stuff like that. I'll probably do it in a separate clip at the end of this. But I want to take this moment with like the heaviness of some of the stuff on this podcast, and we'll put some resources at the end of this for, for some veterans, the resources we can find. But it is close to our heart, just this whole topic of veterans and their families, and we just want to thank everybody who has served this country and done the things that most of us won't, to give us the freedoms that sometimes we take for granted. And we really want to also thank like the family members who have been through that stuff too, who have had loved ones deployed and loved ones not come back. We appreciate your service. We love you guys. We want to thank Tim for coming in and being so transparent, and we are going to get as many resources together as we can to close out this podcast. So you've been listening to Escaping the Chains podcast, brought to you by Delivered Media. Thank you so much for all your support.